Ah, Wolves Den Pier, the home of the floating Colosseum. Here, Eorzea's strong and ambitious alike clash in a battle of wits and willpower.
By the 12! Is that really him? How much muscle can one person have? That's ridiculous!
No way. Is that actually him? Rogan? I can't believe it. I can't wait to see him fight.
Let me tell you something, brother. Even though I just smashed a bunch of brothers down there in Christian conflict, I have nothing but respect for them because they share the love and passion for this event, for this PvP. Hey, is that Nobutaka? Is that you, brother?
Hey, man!
I heard you open a cafe, dude. Hard to believe a devoted fighter became a barista, brother.
Well, it's been a few years since those days.
You know, after a long day, the roaster could use a nice fireplace and a warm drink, brother. How about I come by?
Sure, man. Tell you what, you come by sometime and the coffee's on me.
Sounds good, brother.
And that is the story of how I met the roaster. He's actually a really nice guy. We had a quick chat about what kind of coffee he likes, and I told him to drop by a little bit from now. So, I'm glad you dropped by, my friend. Make yourself comfortable, and he should be here soon. I can't wait for you to meet him. Hey, man.
Nobu, it's good to see you, brother.
Wait, that isn't what you usually sound like, is it?
What? The deep voice thing? That's for PvP performances. It's my stage voice.
Wait, really?
Yeah, doing that all the time will kill my throat.
Well, if you're going to use your stage voice, I won't use mine either.
Wait, what's going on, brother?
Oh, doing the noble voice all the time is difficult. You have to pretend to be a man and talk so low and calmly. It's really exhausting.
Huh. Alright then.
Actually, never mind. Never mind. It feels weird during this out of character.
Okay, how about this? This is much better. So, ready for that coffee and chat?
Yeah, sure.
Bro, hey man. Pleasure to have you here today.
Good to be here, brother.
For those that don't know, my guest today is the roaster himself, Roegamania, the big man of 14 PvP. He's someone who has helped, along with others, to raise up the FF14 PvP community, and so I'm pretty excited to have him on. PvP is one of those things that in 14 is kind of like the gold saucer. You either love it or you hate it, or, given how much it's changed over the years, you like a past version and hate a current form, or you love the current form and you didn't like the past versions of it. It really varies by person. But I feel enough attention isn't given to the community that has formed around PvP. So I'm hoping today we can help cast a spotlight on that and really get into why more people should not only try PvP in 14, but also look into the community that's developed around PvP. And I couldn't think of a better guest to have to help with that. So, as you know, this is Coffee and Carbuncles, and we start every episode by asking, what are you drinking while doing this? And are you more of a tea or more of a coffee person?
Yeah, well, I'm drinking water right now. It's good for you. Always drink water. I'm more of a tea guy, to be honest. Some gray arrow tea. One of my favorite.
Honey or no honey?
So here's the fun story. I never tried tea with honey until I got married. When I got married, my wife taught me the secret ways of adding honey to the tea. And I love it. It's so good. So good.
I'm glad that she was able to introduce you to that. Honey is one of those things that you can add it to just about anything and it'll taste way better.
Definitely, yeah. And the thing is that she's a big coffee fan. I'm not. I'll drink your coffee, right? But I'm more of a tea guy. I like the sweet stuff a little bit more.
How long have you been married?
Close to 7 years now.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Congrats.
Thank you.
So, before we get too much into 14 stuff, tell me about your background. Where do you hail from?
Well, I hail from Puerto Rico, a little small island in the Caribbean, right next to Jamaica, and that's pretty much been living here all my life. And I live near a beach, so there's a lot of beaches here in this island. So it's always great having some great views all the time, and pretty much that's where I'm from. I know that a lot of people think I'm from North America, but I'm not. I'm over here in this little small island, spreading the power of not just PvP, but positivity as well.
For those that have never seen it, Puerto Rico is a beautiful island.
Yeah, it is.
So, aside from 14, other hobbies you want to share with us?
Sure. So Final Fantasy XIV is my go-to game, right? But I definitely have other hobbies. I like model building. If anyone knows about the anime Gundam, they sell these model kits known as Gunpla. I love building those. That's one of my hobbies. My other hobbies would be, I guess you could say, taking care of my little dogs and cats, spending time with them. Is that even a hobby? Yeah, I'm gonna say it's a hobby. So another hobby, right? Besides playing video games, it's building computers. One of the things I love doing is building computers or spending hours browsing and making the fictional computer on a website called PC Part Picker. Just for the future next generation computer that I want to build and things like that.
Oh, neat.
And I guess it also comes with, a little caveat, and that's like, I'm the tech support guy of the family. So when everyone wants something, they come to me. Something that I kind of like. And because my friends are like, oh, I want to build a brand new PC. I'm like, here, build this, and you're going to be fine for the next 7 years or so.
And so you really get into it.
Yeah, I do. And it's fun. It's really fun.
I happen to be quite the fan of Gunpla myself, actually.
Oh, awesome.
Zeta Gundam is my absolute favorite, as well as the plethora of Zeta Gundam model kit variants you can get.
So you must be very excited with the version the K8 that came out with the Zeta Gundam.
Oh my gosh. So anytime they say that there's going to be a Zeta model kit that actually has as close to the anime as possible transformation, I get so excited about it.
So the new version just came out. It's extremely accurate to the anime version in terms of proportions and the transformation. It's like
That's what I heard.
Yeah, I saw video reviews of it because I was first like, okay, I already have the Zeta 2.0 in the real grade. So what's different about this one? And when I saw the reviews and I saw the videos, I was like, okay, I gotta get this one soon.
I mean, not only does the Zeta Gundam look unique due to the structure of its face mask, but also Zeta is one of those Gundam series that just sticks with you because it's so realistic, and a lot like why I love Final Fantasy VI so much compared to the others is Zeta Gundam did not shy away from any really heavy or serious topics. I mean, you watch Zeta, and admittedly, it is not an anime to watch if you want to be in a good mood or happy. But
No, it's not.
It is amazing.
And the way they structured the story around Zeta Gundam is so well. For me, Zeta Gundam will always be my top number one Gundam show because they handle so many things that no other anime prior to Zeta has done before. They even tackle stuff like autism, for example, with Camille. And it's like the creator of Gundam is such a visionary. He's so progressing. There's so many themes and topics in that Gundam show that a lot of people don't get. Like I didn't get a few things in the beginning, but when I keep rewatching it, it's like, oh, I get it now. I get it. It's such a great show.
Also, as you get older and rewatch Zeta, you realize more things about what's going on, both obvious and subtle plot wise.
Yes. You get that. A lot of people say that Sirocco is a unique character. Sirocco was a villain. He was also an abuser. And a lot of people don't even realize it, how much he abused the women and used them for his own goals. And people think that he's just like a colored villain. And when we mean colored villain, it's like your average villain, and he just does things for whatever reason he wants to do it, like for disrupting the peace, things like that. But no, his real intentions was to manipulate women to get power, and it's so dark when you think about it.
Yeah.
And it's completely when I saw it again not too long ago, it completely clicked something in my mind. It's like, oh my god, this anime is practically trying to tell you how cruel and horrible some people are, and when you see things in real life, it's like, oh my god, it's things that actually do happen in real life.
Yeah, it's a very intense and sometimes very horrible, but also just amazing anime, and it's definitely stuck with me through the years. We could have an entire episode like fanning out about Zeta Gundam, but I feel like we're gonna end up getting completely off topic.
Yeah. That's what happens.
Gosh. So back to 14. What brought you to Final Fantasy XIV? What made you decide to give this game a try?
Okay, so a little bit my background. My first Final Fantasy game was Mystic Quest for the Super Nintendo. That game was unique. I liked it. I never finished it. Maybe one day I'll go ahead and do that. That was back all the way back in the 90s. And my second MMORPG of all time was Final Fantasy XI. My first MMORPG was EverQuest. I didn't play it for too long because internet connection wasn't that great, and I had issues playing it here in the island. Like, I couldn't even connect to some of the servers. But with Final Fantasy XI, when that came out, it blew my mind. I was playing with some fantastic people. It was an incredible experience. After that, I played World of Warcraft for 8 years. And then I left because there was a lot of racism in the guild I was in. They kept calling me some bad names, and I just quit the game. I couldn't handle that anymore. And when I heard about Final Fantasy XIV, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be like 11 again. So I played the beta of 1.0 of Final Fantasy XIV. It's like, this is pretty much the same as 11, but slower. And it's kind of... But when I played it, it was very barren, like kind of boring. So I left it. Then I completely disconnected myself from MMO games. I did dabble with other MMO games, for example, Guild Wars, Rift, and Lineage 2, Terra, but none of those games kept me interested. And it wasn't until I heard about A Realm Reborn that completely surprised me. I was like, is this the same game again? And what's going on? And then I started to do a little research and saw the changes they were doing. It's like, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I pre-ordered the game. I got into the open the week. There was an early access week, and I got into it, and I loved the gameplay. Ever since 2.0, I love the gameplay, and I felt like, yeah, this is what I this is the MMO I was waiting for since in Final Fantasy XI. I'm gonna play it, and ever since then, I've been playing Final Fantasy XIV for now close to 10 years. Ever since the 2.0 came out, and I guess it hooked me since the beginning. I did have my little lapse up where I didn't play the game from the final patch of Heavensward until the final patch of Stormblood. So there was the little gap there. I came back and played the game again. I loved Stormblood. The reason why I didn't play those that time was because of college and a bunch of other personal stuff in my life. I didn't have time to play the game. But man, when I replayed when I came back and played Stormblood, I fell in love with the game all over again. And then with Shadowbringers, and now Endwalker, the whole story, everything, it was just amazing for me. A little bit of spoilers for Shadowbringers for some of the folks who are here and haven't finished it, right? You may want to not hear this part. But in Shadowbringers, when Drahatia was revealed, that was a big moment for me. Because in A Realm Reborn, when he kind of they give us the idea he's gone, like he's dead, I was kind of sad because it was a character I really liked. He was young and spontaneous and whatnot. And when he comes back in Shadowbringers, I was very happy, extremely happy. And that was one of the moments Shadowbringers that I really, really loved. And now with Endwalker, I guess that will be all for the spoilers. For Endwalker, I love what they did. I have some criticism about how the game is right now, but it's not as terrible as some people are saying that it is. But yeah, that's how I got into Final Fantasy XIV.
I mean, I think with any game, especially one that's gone on as long as 14, you're going to have times where people like it and people don't like it, and obviously, that's going to be on and off for everyone based on their preferences. So whenever someone talks about, I don't like 14 the way it is now, I try not to think too much on it, because I feel like, give it a few patches or maybe an expansion or two, and they'll be like, yeah, I didn't like 14 then, but I love 14 now. Kind of like people who didn't necessarily like Stormblood, but you hear that they love Shadowbringers. Kind of like that.
Yeah, and the other thing is that I trust the Final Fantasy XIV developers. They have shown and they have proven that they love this game, and they have done some fantastic things for this game. My criticism right now for the game is the repeatable content is not as good as in Shadowbringers, right?
I think that's fair.
Yeah, but it's still good. Like, it's still good content, still a great story overall. We just had the raids release, the final raids release for this tier, and it was fantastic story, and I love it. But when it comes to repeatable things, like for example, we had Eureka and Bosnia, things that people will do repeatedly to get their relics, and you kind of feel the impact of not having those zones in Endwalker. But at the same time, when you start to think and realize, okay, we don't have those things right now because the development team is working hard on 7.0. And from what I've heard from Yoshi P's mouth itself, I think the entire Final Fantasy community is gonna get, how do I say this? They're gonna get a very pleasant surprise when they announce or they show us 7.0, probably in FanFest this July.
I hope so. I mean, I think right now, I know a lot of people are excited for the graphics update. I'm excited for the graphics update myself, and I can't wait to just re-explore the world of 14 after what looks like a pretty decent upgrade.
Yeah, and they do believe that 7.0, they're gonna finally show us the female Rothgars. That's another thing that I'm looking for.
I hope so. So I have to ask then. Hopefully in 14 you haven't had those same kinds of issues with like racism and derogatory remarks. Then
No, none at all. None
I'm
at all.
glad.
If anything, what I have seen in Final Fantasy XIV is people that get upset in dungeons over parsing, or they get upset when the tank doesn't pull too many bombs. But it's very minor stuff. Really haven't experienced any bigoted stuff in the game. I have experienced some from how to say this. I've seen from an outside perspective some people being racist towards certain characters in the game, right? I have seen that, but luckily those people get taken care of. For example, I think it was in Primal, there was a group of Roegadins dressed in black and blocking certain areas that the Lalafell community likes to hang out, right? So I know some of them have mass reported those accounts and they have gotten either suspended or tossed in jail. But that's something that does happen. But in comparison to World of Warcraft and the rampant racism that I faced there, no, that's nothing at all here in Final Fantasy XIV. Like 14 has, I'm still gonna say this, has the greatest online gaming community that I have ever experienced. Very welcoming and very kind and nice. You will always get your little bad apples, but they're like a big minority.
And later on, towards the end of the interview, I definitely want to talk about the community, not just the PvP community, but the 14 community, as well as the positivity that you try and bring to that community.
Yeah.
But for now, so you played a bunch of other MMOs. You came to 14. What was 14 like when you started out? Was Rolk Rogan your first character? Did you manage to end up in a free company pretty quick? What was the start of your adventure like?
So the start of my adventure, Rolk Rogan didn't even exist. Just me using my a little healer Meatlander, and quickly went over to get my Gladiator. When I heard that Gladiator turns to a Paladin, that's the first class that I picked. And luckily for me, I had a group of friends who were already playing them, and they already had their own FC and everything. So I ended up with them, and it was a very smooth ride in the beginning, very fun, and I got to meet a lot of good people back in Midgard Swarm. That was my first server, and we got to meet a lot of great people there. My character's name was oh my god, I can't believe I forgot. It was Itachi Maru, and later on I changed it to Gun Tank. This was way before Shadowbringers, by the way. So when Shadowbringers came out and and they introduced Gunbreaker, people kept making fun of the name because, oh, gun time, we get it. But you're not a Gunbreaker, you're a Paladin. Yeah, if I had a dime every time I heard that joke. But yeah, that's pretty much how it was. It was a very smooth experience. I have very fond memories. And I think one of the best experiences I had in MMO was in the beginning of Realm Reborn back in the day. And mostly had to do that. There was so many people doing fates, and so you felt like the world was alive all the time. It was great.
Awesome. So I've seen you play Paladin a lot, obviously in PvP. Do you have any other classes you like?
Yeah. Besides Paladin, I love to play Samurai, and I love to play Dark Knight. And sometimes I'll switch to Dragoon. But my second favorite class is Samurai because it's a DPS class that is very easy to get into. At first, you're gonna get confused because the class uses Japanese names, but you get you at least for me, it was easy to understand real quickly by the colors. You see the colors of the skill sets. It's like okay, blue, and then you go red, and then you go pink, things like that. The samurai rotation is very easy to learn as well, and I loved it. In the beginning, before samurai even showed up, my favorite was monk back in the day, and bard. But now in Endwalker, definitely gonna have to say that my favorite class is paladin, dark knight, and samurai. I will never heal.
And so, in your personal canon, what class is Rogue Rogan?
He's a paladin.
Okay.
Rogan is a paladin because that's a class for him. That's the job that is about protecting the people around him with cover and using the abilities to save as many people as they can. Giving them buffs, defensive buffs, and whatnot. So for him, that job is perfect because embodies what the Roegamania is, and that is to protect the people you care for, spread positivity, and things like that. And that's why it's a paladin. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, why are you why isn't Roguester a monk?" It's like the Roaster is not a monk, although he has a level 90 monk, but he's not canonly a monk because that's not something that he would enjoy playing because it doesn't give him that satisfaction of protecting others as a monk compared to a paladin.
Oh, neat. So when did this Rogue Rogan persona come about? How did you make that? How did you get into roleplay in 14?
Okay, so I never gotten into roleplay before this. It wasn't until LunarCon, that's a in-game convention made by the fans, by the community, by Shenpai, and she made this LunarCon during the COVID era. So come LunarCon last year, 2022, I decided to do something. And that something was, okay, I'm going to cosplay as a character. Who am I going to cosplay? And before Rogue Rowan was even a thing, I thought about cosplaying as Char Aznable, for example. He's a character from Gundam, for those who don't know. I thought about cosplaying as another wrestler called Kenny Omega, right? But then I said, I was playing around with some of the customizations, and one of the Rogadin's customization has the mustache and has the bald head that Hulk Hogan has in real life. It's like, oh my god, this is it. I just need a sleeveless shirt. Where do I get one? And I had one that was the Sky Workers shirt that you get from the Firmament in Final Fantasy. It's like, okay, this is perfect. Now I need some tight pants, which are the hempen pants, and the Explorer boots. And it's like, oh, and when I did that, I picked up the colors, and he looked like Hulk Hogan. And it's like, you know what? I want people to really pay attention about the current situation that's happening with the trans community. And I think me cosplaying as this dude who, let's be real, the real life Hulk Hogan is not necessarily a good person. He's very controversial, not liked by many. I don't like him, so that's the irony in all this. And I decided, you know what? This is gonna be the complete opposite of Hulk Hogan. Rogue Rogan, or the Roegamaniac, as I'm calling him now, he's gonna be the voice of positivity. He's gonna be who I am right now, who I am, but I'm going to amplify the person that I am by 100. and I'm gonna use 1980s wrestling monikers or things, phrases from the 80s, and that's how I created character Rogue Rogan, and it was for LunaCon. And in LunaCon, I kept shouting, "Trans rights are human rights," which I will continue to say to you no matter what. Trans rights are human rights, and I gave a speech about trans rights, and people loved that. And I went to Twitter and started saying trans are human rights, and suddenly it got a large following. And then when I saw the large following, I thought to myself, okay, you know what I'm gonna do now? I'm gonna spread and tell people that despite things being bad, everything's gonna be okay. And sometimes we have to struggle in life because life is an experience. We have to enjoy our journey as much as we can. We have to cry, then we'll cry. If we have to smile, then we'll smile. And that's what I did with Roegamania. That's basically spreading as much positivity as I can, because every day in 2021 and 2022, all you saw was bad news after bad news. And I decided, you know what, I'm gonna be that beacon of light, of hope for the people. And when everyone goes to Twitter, and at least they don't get to see some bad news, they'll see some positive news that's gonna help them wherever they're in their workplace or handling some bad situation. That they know that at the end of it all, everything's gonna be okay. So that's pretty much how it all began for the Roegamaniac.
That's awesome. And in part 2 of our interview, we're going to get a lot more into not only PvP, but Twitter, your persona, positivity, and all of that. So I hope everyone looks forward to that. Right now, we've got done with the intro to our interview. We got done with part 1, and I think Ro and I could both use a bit of a break to let our vocal cords relax. So
Okay.
please stay tuned, and we'll be back in a bit.
Hey there, brother. Are you looking at your gains and struggling to be impressed? Are you trying to get muscles like the Roegamaniac, but your arms look like alpha nudes? Well, let the roaster let you in a little secret, brother. You need the East Aldenard Trading Company's newest product, dude. The Behemoth King Natural Enhancement Powder. Go from the bottom of the heap to the king of the hill in just a few short weeks by mixing these all-natural supplements with a glass of nice, refreshing cold water, brother. And drinking it before and after your workout. Trust me, brother, this stuff works. You'll have the muscles like a behemoth, the speed of a retreating cactuar, the stamina of a rugged-sized chocobo, all with this supplement. Teleport on over to Vesper Bay and tell them Roegamania sent you.
Welcome back to the second half of my interview with Roegamaniac. Ro, thanks for sticking around.
Hey, no problem. Glad to be here.
So, obviously, your persona is based on someone with a bit of a complicated past and a real-world history. Has that caused problems for you? How does the real-world Hulk Hogan play into this? I know that we talked a bit before the break about it, but do you ever get any scrutiny in regards to him?
Oh yeah, I have, and some people even called me a hypocrite. And to that I say, you're not wrong. I am portraying a character that is very problematic. You're correct, but Rogue Rogan is not Hulk Hogan, and I'm trying to move away from that. I'm trying to change all my handles and everything to Roegamaniac. I think Roegamania is more of a movement of positivity than whatever Hulk Hogan is. Hulk Hogan as a real life person is very problematic, and what started out as a joke, because I want to be the complete opposite of him. I want to be myself. I'm top to 100%, right? And just using like wrestling, old wrestling speech, you know. So I'm moving away from that. I'm trying to move away from Hulk Hogan and to be my own person. The thing is that in wrestling, a lot of wrestlers take inspiration of other wrestlers. For
Yeah,
example,
for sure.
Hulk Hogan wasn't always like that. Hulk Hogan literally stole his gimmick, right, from another wrestler, and who recently passed away, the superstar, and the superstar Billy Graham, and he stole a lot of his monikers and the way he spoke, but he was not like superstar Billy Graham, and Rock Rogan was a joke, and now I'm moving away from that. It's gonna, I guess, it's a way to tell everyone that I'm gonna be more. The name of the Rogan's gonna be put away, and it's gonna be Roegamania. That's gonna be the name from now on. And because I really don't want to have any ties to that Hulk Hogan, I will continue to wear the bandana and the glamour that's similar to Hulk Hogan, but I'm not gonna carry his colors. They're gonna be a little bit different. Like for this Pride Month, I changed my glamour to be the same colors of the Pride flag, and like when going back to the question, when people say they tell me right, um, especially back in March or February, well, there was a big dilemma, and people were saying, "How can you be pro trans rights if you're portraying a character or a person that is a horrible person?" Right? It's like I'm not Hulk Hogan. I am me, and I'm gonna be the Roegamaniac. And you're right. I shouldn't promote this guy. And those are the things that I've thought about for a while now, and I'm definitely gonna change that. And I am always open to criticism. I think criticism, when it's constructive, is extremely helpful, and it helps you elevate as a human being because you learn and you grow. And I think Rogamania itself has become something that it's become its own identity that doesn't need to rely on someone like Hulk Hogan or his persona or anything like that. I will continue to write in caps locks in Twitter because that's something I love doing. Because it come, for example, I feel so like when I'm typing, it's like I gotta say this as loudly as possible. I'm gonna put it on caps because I want people to read it. Like I'm yelling, like everything's gonna be all right, brother. Stay in there, hang in there. You got this, dude. So I get into that mentality. Like I'm telling you, everything's gonna be all right. Don't give up. And that's why I've always like that's not gonna change. I will continue writing caps lock and use brother and dude because those are words I use in everything. Like the other day I was talking with a bunch of friends. I kept saying brother and dude, and it's something I always used in my life. So yeah, I will move away from Hulk Hogan because that is the right thing to do, and gonna be my own persona. Like it was intended from the very beginning.
And as I'm listening to you say that, I'm thinking obviously back to the basis of all of this, wrestling, where, let's take, for example, professional wrestler, The Undertaker. How many times did he reinvent his image? But at his core, still the same person, still the same amazing wrestler. But, you had the literal Undertaker phase, you had the biker phase, and, wrestlers changing up, reinventing their image, you changing, moving away from Hulk Hogan, I don't think it's that different.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it, and I agree. And there's another person that he changes a lot, and that's Chris Jericho.
Oh, for sure.
He changes his gimmick so many times. Jesus. But yeah,
Go back to some.
Yeah, he does go back to some of them. But I don't think I'll ever go back to being Hulk Hogan's parody. I'm just gonna be the Roegamaniac and keep doing what I'm doing right now. Nothing's gonna change too much, except maybe the names. That's about it.
And that's evolution, man. I mean,
Yep.
I look forward to seeing it.
Pretty soon, pretty soon.
Awesome. Speaking of this persona you've made, obviously it's a roleplay persona, but it's a persona focused on PvP, right? You've used this persona to become a pretty large part of the 14 PvP community, and I guess I'm wondering, was that always the goal? Was this meant to be PvP related, or was it more of you already liked PvP and then just went ahead and put your character into that part of the community?
So I always loved PvP, right? But I never really thought about using the Roegamaniac as a part of a PvP thing until John spoke with me and doing I help him out with some PvP stuff. And then I said, hey, what if we do a fundraiser for the people affected for Hurricane Fiona last year? And we did that. We did a PvP event. And I always liked PvP in Final Fantasy XIV. I didn't understand it that much because all I would do was frontlines. I missed out on Feast back in the day because I was afraid of it, of joining in and, you know. But I always like the PvP because it's not reactionary compared to World of Warcraft. It's more like you have to understand the strength and weaknesses of other jobs and know if this job did an ability, then you know that ability is on cooldown, you know when to strike. So it's a little bit more tactical in comparison. The thing is that when I did the event with John, I was like, I think I love PvP more than ever now. I want to do more of this. And I kept playing PvP, and every PvP match that I go in, I kept hyping people up and telling them, hey, let's go out there, win or lose. We're just here to have fun. Remember, Frontlines is all RNG, right? I can't do that on Crystalline Conflict because the chat is limited, but I try to, have as much fun as possible. And hopefully, get as many people interested in PvP because PvP is, how do I say, it's that aspect of the game that a lot of people fear or don't understand. And some dislike it because they don't understand it. They expect PvP to be similar to World of Warcraft, but it's not. Because Final Fantasy PvP, you have to treat it like a PvE fight. You have to learn the rotations of your enemy jobs, of your friends' jobs, know you have to be ready for what's coming, whatnot. And because of that, I love PvP. I got into it. I learned a lot thanks to the PvP Discord. They have a bunch of guides there that I read and learned from them. There's Brian Ricardo, who also was a big influence into me in getting into PvP. And yeah, Roegamania was not meant for PvP, but man, but brother, I love it. I love that it's all related to PvP now. I think that's a perfect match right there.
So for those that don't know, you've said twice now that PvP in 14 is different from World of Warcraft. What is the difference? What is World of Warcraft PvP like?
World of Warcraft PvP is, how do I put this, very reliant on the type of armor that you have and your reactions that you have. Some of the classes are very powerful, and you have to know when to counter some of their skills. For example, back when I used to play, White Mage will mind control you, and you need to know when to use the skill to break free from the mind control, or you get stun locked by a rogue in arena and you could die. if you use your skills, kind of like it happening right now in Final Fantasy. The problem with the difference, right? Not problem. The difference between both of them is that World of Warcraft is fast-paced PvP, and you had to react quickly. That's a style that I gotten used to back then. I used to play a Retribution Paladin and Rogue back in Warcraft before Shadowlands. I think my last time I played World of Warcraft was with Battle for Azeroth, and those were the guys I would play. And it just feels like World of Warcraft is more convoluted when it comes to PvP, because you need to have better armor, you need to have a better weapon, right? You also need to know your rotations. You need to be prepared and to react accordingly when you get cornered in a fight. So it's a lot more stressful. Final Fantasy XIV PvP, however, I find it that it's less stressful. It's just if you fall victim to a one shot, to say that way, in Final Fantasy XIV, it's because you weren't paying attention. It happens to me many times. One time, I'm just running on cloud 9, and I instantly die. It's like, what killed me? And then I see the chainsaw from the machinist. That skill will definitely kill you if it hits. There's a small chance that it will instant kill you, right? And sometimes I get that. And there's other times when I don't even pay attention to my own life, and I die. And when that happens in Final Fantasy XIV, it's because I'm either covering someone or I'm not paying attention because I'm too focused on the point. The thing is that in Final Fantasy XIV PvP, it's far more forgetful. Like, you can make a mistake 1 or 2 times and you'll still be fine. Where in Warcraft, if you die, that's it. In Arena, if you die, you can't resurrect. And in Final Fantasy XIV, you can resurrect, but you have to then remember, okay, now I have a longer timer if I die again, and I'm not going to be any helpful to the team. And as long as you know the strength and weaknesses of the jobs in Final Fantasy XIV and treat the fights as PvE, like a PvE dance, you're going to be fine. That's something I learned this year, that I cannot treat the PvP as a reactionary. You have to be more thoughtful and ready than in World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft is reactionary. You gotta be quick with your hands, with your fingers. If not, it's game over.
Okay. I've never played World of Warcraft, so I didn't really have like a baseline. You talked actually about how you and John, we're referring to John as Dead, a member of the PvP community, did an event. That charity event is actually how you and I ended up meeting. Do you want to talk about that charity event? Like, tell us what was it for and how it went and everything?
So the charity event was an idea from John. And I told them, okay, let me go ahead and find a specific group that we can run the charity event for. I had issues because here in Puerto Rico, streaming is not well known, right? People don't know what that is. So trying to get a charity group to cooperate was very difficult. But then I found a good charity group on Twitch. They have like this section of charities, and I found one that is led by a female group. I'm trying to remember the name right now because it's been so long. But this charity group, from what I saw and did my real research, it's run by a lot of females, and what they do is they build houses, they build small schools, and during Fiona, they were doing just that. And I did my research, and I went to investigate, and found out that They were doing many great things for the people in Puerto Rico, which is one of my main goals, right? When I found out that they were doing all the great things, I said, you know what? I'm gonna run an event, a charity event. So the charity event, I went over and sent them an email. Hey, Taller de Salud. That's how it's called. Um, Basically, we're gonna run this event. We're gonna try to raise some money to help you guys out, and that's pretty much it. Like the rest is history. That I had so much support on that day. Every person that donated, I had a little Christmas ball, and I would put their name on the Christmas tree and the Christmas ball, and I had so many people donate, and I had like an MVP. His name is Sirius87. Cyrus 87. He donated $325. Oshimon, Biggie,
Oh, wow.
Rexman. I had the balls here, so I still got them. The Tatul, Marcus Fisher, John is the Salkel, Astrid, all of them donated, and the event was a huge success. We raised 420, which is still funny. We raised 420, but hey, it was a massive success, and because of that event, I fell even more in love with the PvP community, and John was so helpful. He was casting, he was fantastic, and Snark is another friend of ours who's also a big PvPer, and he was helping out. He was in the event. We had a little RP about a Lalafell that was an inversion of Rogan. So we had a little duel every like an intermission, and then we went back to the teams fighting each other and front lines and whatnot, and finish up the fantastic night. And I'm glad I was able to meet you there.
Yeah, me too. That event really helped introduce me to a lot of the 14 PvP community, and it was also a lot of fun promoting it online. Myself and a few others spreading the word about it through our social media, and it was just nice seeing the 14 community come together for charity, especially in regards to PvP, which, like we've talked about, not everyone is the biggest fan of PvP, but at the same time, I saw a lot of people who either didn't regularly do PvP or didn't really feel like they enjoyed it come to that event, come be a part of it, donate, and now I see a lot of people who attended actually giving PvP a chance, and I think that's great.
Yeah, I noticed that in the past couple of months, PvP popularity has been on a rise, and that's great. I understand if PvP is not for everyone, just like everything else, like Mox, the Gold Saucer is not for everyone, or doing raids is not for everyone, and I get it. Like, I absolutely get it, and I'm just glad to see so many people, try PvP, give it a chance, and actually staying with it and playing more and more and more. Hopefully, we get even more people playing it, and hopefully Square Enix. Sorry, not Square Enix. Oh my God, yes, Square Enix. Sorry, I was gonna call it Squaresoft, but they're no longer Squaresoft. They're Square Enix. Hopefully, the Final Fantasy XIV development team takes more notice and continues to improve PvP. The last patch we saw fantastic changes to PvP with a new revamp of the front lines. Hopefully they keep doing this type of changes. Hopefully keep adding noteworthy rewards, and PvP is gonna continue to thrive.
I hope so. Now, for those who aren't part of the PvP community, tell us what it's like. Who are some of the big names in the community, and what is the energy like? Because I think when some people hear PvP, they think of either really violent players or maybe players that just like triumphing over others and gloating about it. And in my experience, that really isn't the case.
No, not at all. In fact, we're extremely chill. We're super cool. We like to help people. We like to teach them the ropes. Some of the big prominent figures in PvP is Brian Ricardo, Masaru, um, John, Calamity, and sorry.
So, what is it like being part of that community? I mean, do you guys often interact, or?
Can you hear me now? Sorry, I got cut off with the microphone.
Oh, it's fine.
Okay, so I was saying, Brian Ricardo, Calamity John is dead. Masaru, who's a PP streamer, Roy, another PP streamer, and Census. So the community, the PP community, is very wholesome, very chill. But we always have the black sheeps. That's going to happen in every community. But the Discords are very chill and very nice and very helpful. I always tell people, join the PvP Revival Discord. We're here to help. And that's what they do. You're always going to hit the bad apple. But luckily, the Discord has good mods, and you're going to have people gloating their victories or whatnot. That's normal. But nothing egregious or offensive. You're never going to get that. Because if you get a person that's toxic within the PvP Discord, they will get taken care of.
So tell me about PvP Revival, because I feel like some people who aren't really part of the community might be shocked to hear that PvP needed a quote-unquote revival in 14.
So, PvP, I'm going to say during the Feast era, wasn't as popular, and it had a lot of issues with win trading. And the PvP Revival Discord was created to try and mitigate that. Square decided to revamp PvP, and after that revamp, we have seen a revival in popularity more than ever before. Back in the day before Crystalline Conflict, people just do frontlines and move on. Now we're seeing them do frontlines, rival wings, and Crystalline Conflict. So that's pretty much the main idea of it all when it comes to revival. It's like at one point PvP wasn't popular during the Feast era, and now it's very popular and it's growing, and hopefully it continues to grow. And I hope that one day Yoshi P gives us a group queue. By having group queue on Crystalline Conflict, you further increase the popularity of PvP. PvP is fantastic when it's done in groups. We have seen an outburst of people coming to PvP every Thursday, because John runs every Thursday a PvP synchronized event where people just play for fun. And yeah, that's pretty much how things have been. Hopefully there will not be any need for any revival, and I don't think it's gonna be, because right now I think PvP is thriving.
I think that PvP is definitely in a better state and more balanced now than at several other times throughout 14's history. There is part of me that does miss everyone going in at whatever gear you had at the time, but I see how that really discouraged lower level players from taking part in PvP.
In my honest opinion, having gear in PvP that has stats is a bad idea, because you want to have an even playing field, like in fighting games, right?
Right.
In fighting games, if a character has too much power, they get nerfed, right? But fighting games try to be as balanced as possible. So that's what's happening right now in PvP, and we're seeing how this is actually benefiting the PvP Final Fantasy XIV when it's not tied to gear. Because if it was tied to gear, you will have situations where black mages will be dominating, or you have domination from dragoons or summoners. Right now, I feel that the PvP is extremely well balanced. There's no overpowered job, but what PvP does need is better mitigation for crowd control for those stuns, because if you get stun locked, you will die, no matter how powerful your job is.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's pretty much like I honestly believe that removing the gear status in PvP was the best idea they ever done.
My view on sort of the PvP timeline in 14 is when you went into it with just your own gear, that was where it started in 14. And that was okay. It discouraged lower level players, unfortunately, but if you were in game, it was kind of fun. Then there was this really kind of odd period where they went, well, we'll have separate gear. We'll have gear specifically for PvP and specifically for PvE, and that was kind of a weird phase, especially with the limited inventory space we had and the limited gear slots. That was kind of weird. But I think the state of PvP now, where you go in and you have your skills and it's not based on your outside of PvP stats, really opens up the format to pretty much anyone. I mean, as long as you reach the level cap to qualify for it, it lets newer and older players be able to be on a lot more even playing field, and it lets PvP just in general be more available. And I think that when you have a game like an MMORPG in general, but specifically 14, to make a specific aspect of the game fun, you can have the community put in effort all day long. And we're definitely seeing that, especially on Discord and Twitter. A lot of very strong push from the PvP community. But ultimately, to make PvP work, it has to come from the dev team. And I think that they're definitely getting there. They're definitely finding a lot better space for PvP and concept for it than we used to have.
Oh, definitely. Like, I think even Yoshi has been playing PvP, and he knows how much PvP needs to continue to improve. And we're seeing those changes. We're hopefully, when they bring back the Shatter, was the Shatter the one that took out? It's more organized, and because when it comes to Frontlines is a hit or miss. It's very RNG heavy.
Yeah.
With the new changes they made for the crystal, it's a lot better than it was before. There's still some things that need to work, because on the new Frontlines map that they just revamped, there's still the issue that you don't fight as much as you used to, because you're hunting down crystals to take down. And I think they can mitigate that by lowering the spawn rate of those crystals. And they need to add a duty roulette for Rival Wings, because Rival Wings is one of the best PP modes in the game that's better than Frontlines. Rival Wings is a mode that's very similar to games like Dota or League of Legends, but in Final Fantasy XIV. And
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's extremely fun, and you get to pilot the giant robots from the Alexander raid, and it's extremely fun. And it really needs to be on the duty roulette, or at least add a different map so it can be on the duty roulette and more people experience the enjoyment that is Rival Wings.
I think that would be awesome. So, as kind of a final push before we get off the topic of PvP and close out the interview, give us your final like big sell for PvP. Why should someone who's listening to this, who's never done PvP in 14, after this podcast, go and jump in?
It has great rewards, and it's extremely fun. and it gives you a way to play your job in a whole different way. And when you're playing, for example, if you're playing Dragoon, you're gonna see how Dragoon plays in PvP is far different than you're playing in PvE. It is a lot more fun. At least for me, it is. All the jobs in PvP are a lot more fun because they have less skills to use, but the animations are fantastic and the damage is amazing. And when you see a bunch of groups of people fighting each other at the same time, and you want to be in that fight, right? You want to protect your friends or you want to do as much damage as possible. If you're a PvEer and you want to take let's say, oh, I'm tired of raiding, I want to do something else in Final Fantasy XIV, instead of going to the gold saucer and do the jumping puzzles, jump to PvP, and you're gonna end up liking it because the community is so fun, and the it's like an alliance raid, but in PvP, and they're so helpful that they okay, go to this direction, and you see this massive teammates behind you coming to fight the other enemy team. You see people, or you see paladins using cover, running to you and protecting you, and it's extremely fun. Like when I got into PvP, I didn't know much about it, but I found there was so many things that you can do, and you can be very sneaky, like a ninja. If you're a ninja, you can be sneaky. You can go ahead and attack from afar, and when you have your limit break, you can start killing the opponents in a chain nonstop as long as their health is less than 50%. You can do that, and you're gonna feel like like amazing. Like imagine being a ninja, you're getting 5 kills because of the limit break, and you're gonna feel great. It's a whole different experience. It's a brand new experience, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna love it. There's a fantastic rewards, especially for people who like to collect glamour. There's a bunch of glamour items, armor sets, mounts. There's many different mounts, specific mounts. There's on PvP. There's fantastic rewards for the portraits and whatnot, and weapons. If you rank up on the Christian Conflict right now to rank Diamond, you can get a token to get a new glowing weapon for the Hellhound weapons that you can get on the PvP. So there's tons of rewards, there's tons of things to do, and because it's a brand new experience, a brand new way to play Final Fantasy XIV. And I strongly suggest anyone who's still on the fence to just give it a try. If you don't want to go alone, go with a group of friends or join the Discords, and we can hook you up and we can go in and have fun. Because at the end of the day, it's not about winning or losing. It's about having fun in PvP. But if you want to take it to the next level and you want to be more competitive about it, you have to remember that losing is part of learning. And you should never be sad or upset when you lose. You just accept it and move on. So for all those who are starting, I hope you give it a shot and look us up in the Discords.
Well said. And yeah, I mean, PvP, at first glance, obviously, even the name player versus player, it seems like this very aggressive sort of Coliseum type thing, but it really is, it's fun. I mean, if you queue up with people, or generally speaking, I mean, sometimes, you get some negative people, but Alliance chat, for me, a lot of times is pretty fun and pretty goofy.
Yeah, it is.
So to close out the interview, I want to put the Roegamaniac persona aside, and I want to put the PvP stuff aside, and I want to get into Twitter. Now, a lot like my previous guest, the Mini Media, you try and keep your account very positive, and you post a lot, both in and out of character. We talked about all caps.
Yeah.
Why do you choose to use your account in this way? What does positivity in the 14 community mean to you?
So I did it because I want people to feel that there's hope, to feel happy, to give them a little bit of light in whatever dark times they're going through. Every day we hear bad news after bad news, and I just want to shine a light and tell people everything's gonna be fine. Sure, we go through some bad moments and whatnot, but everything has a resolution. Sometimes it's not a resolution that we like, but it's better to than nothing. It's better than anything bad, and it will help you sleep at night. Sometimes I also think of people who are working this 8-hour job and they feel like it's hopeless, that they have no like aspirations or anything like that, because that's how things have been put for all of us. And I just like to chime in and inspire people, give them a little beacon of light. Like, hey, keep working for those goals, keep working for those things that you want to do in life, because you can do anything if you really put your mind into it, and anything that's good for you, right? And I feel like my Twitter account is about spreading positivity and not shy away from social issues that affect many people who are right now, you know, having a rough time. I'm talking about people in the LGBTQ plus community, and I don't shy away from expressing myself in and outside of character, because everyone deserves a little bit of happiness. Everyone deserves to learn from their mistakes, evolve, and become a better person. Everyone deserves a second chance. And I believe that my Twitter account's goal is to basically try to make a person's bad day into a good day. To remind them that no matter how dire the situation looks, at the end of the day, things are going to be all right. Sometimes I put myself in their spot and think about how hard and difficult things must be for them. So I try to tell them, hey, you gotta break down those walls. You try to be a better person. There's nothing wrong with accepting that when you're wrong, and that's basically what my Twitter is about. Basically, telling people everything's gonna be all right, and don't be ashamed of crying. Don't be ashamed of admitting mistakes. Don't be ashamed of things you've done in the past, because those are experiences that you learn and you grow with them. Be ashamed that those experiences that you went through, bad experiences, and you didn't learn anything from them. Or if you did, but you don't care, then maybe you should be ashamed of that. But at the end of the day, my Twitter account exists to spread a little bit of positivity in this world of full of negativity. When you go to Twitter, you see people raging about something, being angry about something. Hopefully, you see my tweet telling you, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be all right.
I've spoken before, like I said in my interview with the Mini Media, that I'm glad that we have accounts like hers and accounts like yours in the community that help to spread positivity.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people in Final Fantasy XIV who love to spread their positivity, and I also like to retweet them, and because the more positivity you spread, the better will be for people on their timelines. So yeah, I'm happy for everyone who does something similar to what I do.
Me too. Now, as we get to the end of our interview, I've obviously taken up a lot of your time today.
Yeah, not really.
So I feel like I've asked you quite a bit. So now it's time to turn the tables and for you to ask me questions. So do you have 2 questions for me?
Oh yeah, I got one for you. So you're probably been asked this before, but um, what made you, start a podcast interviewing people? Like, what got into like, hey, I should do this? It's like, what's the reason behind all this?
Ultimately, it's because the Final Fantasy XIV community has been a large part of my life for almost a decade now, and I've always wanted to give back, to be able to be a part of this bigger community tapestry, basically, and be be different than just someone who logs in, does dailies, logs out. I wanted to help elevate members of the community that I thought were just awesome people and I wanted more people to know about. But also I wanted to be able to sort of leave my mark on the community. And I thought of, well, how can I do that? And like I said in previous episodes, I feel like we have such a large community that a lot of people often don't know about other people outside of their own servers, and World Visit has helped with that, and server transfers help with that a lot. But I also want to help use this podcast to introduce people to members of the community that they might not otherwise hear about or might not otherwise meet. And hopefully, even though our community is so expansive, we can help make that community a bit closer to one another, and that's really what my hope for this podcast is.
Nice. That's very wholesome of you. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you existing.
Thank you. I'm glad you think so. Question 2.
All right, second question. This one is a little bit more silly. What's your favorite Final Fantasy XIV moment?
Are we talking like with friends or MSQ or?
Your favorite memory? Let's put it that way.
Oh gosh, there there have definitely been some silly moments that have happened with friends and with free company members. Not all of them I can share on here. Some of
I
them do
understand.
get pretty goofy, but that's with any community. But something that I really enjoy recently in 14, and this is going to be Endwalker spoilers, so if no one wants to hear this, feel free to leave the episode now. In Endwalker, there's a scene where Y'shtola summons 2 minions,
Yeah.
and the whole froth and foam thing just made me crack up so much, and it was you see her do it, you see the entire ritual, and then as everyone is looking at her, you see the ears drop, and she's like standing there ashamed of how adorable this is, and it was so great. I loved it.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite moments too. And I think the other one where the book falls on her head, that's also pretty good.
Oh gosh, it was great.
Like I love when this game sometimes break some of the characters. Like Istola is always like stoic and calm. So when they break that character to be a little bit more funny, I love when they do that. Like Estinian.
Well, I think it's great when you have games that poke fun at themselves. Another moment I really enjoyed also was Estinian confusing Alize for Alphino, and her just outrage about it was fantastic.
Oh yeah. Oh my god, that was amazing. Or and when Alphino jumps um to the sea, he doesn't know how to swim.
Oh gosh, yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
this,
thank you so much for being here today, man. I mean, thank you for giving me your time, and that was an awesome interview.
hey, no problem, man. I'm just glad to be here.
I hope you have a great day, and I hope that through this interview, people will feel like they've learned more about the PvP community, and I hope that people after this episode will go and give PvP a try. And if you're nervous, like we talked about, you know, go with a friend or go with a free company member, or heck, even go to Twitter and check out PvP Primal Twitter and PvP Revival. Hop into their Discords, ask, hey, will anyone do PvP with me? And just dive in.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for having me here, man. I really appreciate it. This was a fantastic podcast, and who knows, maybe we'll do it again in the future.
I'd like that. It'd be really nice maybe to have an episode with you and John and Brian, provided we could all actually like synchronize our schedules, which that's a whole nother thing. But I would like to have another episode at some point talking about PvP, especially if with with the later patches and with 7.0, if we do get any major PvP changes, I'd definitely like to discuss them with you.
Oh, definitely.
All right. Well, with that, we'll be ending the interview, and I hope everyone has a good day. And Ro, thank you for being here, man.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Well, I hope everyone enjoyed the June episode of Coffee and Carbuncles. I don't have many closing thoughts leaving this interview, because I feel like there's quite a lot that Ro and I covered. He's such a positive person, and I really appreciated having him on the podcast this month. For those of you still feeling apprehensive about PvP, I'd say just give it a try. Just like we've discussed previously with roleplay, it's one of those things where if you decide to jump into the community, it may seem a bit intimidating at first, but I am very convinced you'll find a great group of people to help guide you and help you really embrace that aspect of Final Fantasy XIV. And if you feel nervous still, there's the Discord groups we mentioned, PvP Revival and PvP Primal are two great Twitters to check out. And then joining their Discord, asking if anyone would like to give you tips on PvP or do it with you. And go have fun. Enjoy it. See if it's for you. If you try it out and it's still not, then that's completely fine too. One of the major things that I try and express through this podcast is Final Fantasy XIV has a very varied community, and we all embrace and enjoy different aspects of the game, and that's completely fine. Well, with that being said, I will see you all for episode 9 in July, and until next time, I hope you all stay safe, and I'll see you here with a warm drink and wonderful guests. Take care.